The Nintendo Switch is in its twilight years, but it still doesn't mean that there aren't any great games coming to it. The Switch constantly still receives new games, and when it comes to a new release or a AAA release, there's always some excitement and intrigue there to see how the game actually performs. And one of those games is Sid Meier's Civilization 7. Yes, the latest in the Civ series has arrived on Switch, day and date with all the other versions, but how does it run? And how does it play? Let's find out. As this is a Switch release, I'm going to talk about the performance first because this is the buy or sell thing for many people. It's the make or break thing. And I must admit, coming up to release, I was quite worried about Civ 7 on the Switch. Civilization 6 did arrive on Switch a few years prior, and for the most part, it was a solid little port. And Civilization 7 initial aspects when I was playing it, I was pretty darn impressed with it, but unfortunately as I was playing through the game, the cracks start to show. The game does run on some sort of dynamic resolution here, and for the most part it does look nice. The map looks good, the civs look good, and the actual character models do look rather detailed. Unfortunately, it's not all great. The frame rate is a bit all over the place. It feels like at the start of the game it tries to run at 60 FPS and then caps out at 30, and unfortunately during turns where other players take their turns, other nations, the game frame rate just tanks. It does, and it chugs along, and it feels like the Switch is struggling so hard to run it. And it is a shame because during gameplay, when it's your turn, it runs relatively well. Another issue is the long load times. The initial load into your game can take upwards of 2 to 3 minutes, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Also, it doesn't help that the Switch version also is a bit of a disadvantage here as it has smaller maps compared to the other versions. But apparently the developers said that they will be implementing bigger maps in future updates, so we'll have to wait and see about that. But here's hoping they actually get the game to run a little bit better. For me, it seems to be running much worse than what Civilization 6 did when that launched all the way back in 2019-2020. Now on to the actual gameplay, and Civilization 7 is very similar to other Civilization games. It's a turn-based strategy game where you oversee the growth of a civilization from early settlements to advanced cultures. You use various units at your will to explore the map, grow your civilization with various things such as culture, technology, gain resource, and try and defend as well as defeat and trade with other settlements and foreign civilizations. It's a pretty cool gameplay loop that served the series very well over the years, and it certainly has because we are on the 7th installment. And the gameplay itself is pretty much what I expected. It's the same old Civ with a few little bit of changes here and there. Straight from the get-go, now you can choose your leader from various people like Machiavelli to Napoleon to Catherine the Great to even Benjamin Franklin. And a new turn for this one is that your leader isn't actually tied to a specific nation. So if you wanted Benjamin Franklin to go somewhere other than America, so say like Egypt, you can. And you can also change their personalities as well. There's a lot of tinkering to be had under the hood, and I'm sure pure Civ enthusiasts will certainly find what works and what doesn't. But personally, I didn't mind it. I thought it was quite a cool new little addition. Also new to this entry is that you can actually choose which historical era you want to be in. Whether you want to start off with the antiquity, exploration, or modern era, it's entirely up to you. And for me, it doesn't really bother me either way. I think it's a nice touch for people who want to go straight onto the modern era. I know Civ enthusiasts may not be too keen on it, and the general consensus is that it has rubbed a few old school hands up the wrong way. For me, I'm quite a casual player of Civ. I only really got into it with Civ 6, and this one is really enjoyable, but I can definitely see how some of the changes will upset a lot of old-time hands. The general gameplay here is fun, and it is quite interesting watching your civilization grow, getting more land, fighting off invaders. It is enjoyable and there is a thrill to it, but there are some issues here, and unfortunately the biggest one is the UI. A lot of people have said on other consoles the UI isn't great. It certainly has mixed opinions. Some people seem to swear by it, some people aren't too keen on it, and for me it is a mess on the Switch. The Switch is played majority on handheld, and obviously the Switch real estate is quite small, so all the UI is quite hard to read, quite cumbersome. And if you're playing touchscreen, the game actually does have touchscreen support, which is cool, but unfortunately it's so finicky and awkward that you might as well just use buttons. And even with the buttons, trying to confirm something doesn't always work, so you have to use the touchscreen. It is a mess, and hopefully they will sort it out soon. I can't really see how they will fix it on Switch, again, because of the small real estate to work on, but hey, I'm going to sit and hope, and hopefully the developer Praxis will give us a great Switch update. The game also supports cross-play multiplayer, which is pretty darn impressive for a Switch game. Unfortunately, as the game has small maps on here, you probably won't get many people playing with you from other consoles, as I'm assured a lot of people want to play those big maps. But I did play one match against somebody on Switch, and it runs moderately quite well. Again, the load times are very long. Content-wise, it is the full package bar just having small maps, and it will be a make or break for many people who are hardened Civ players. But overall, I did enjoy my time with the game. Another thing I'd like to talk about Civ 7 on the Switch is how great the music is. The music is really epic, and it's wonderful when it plays throughout the game, load screens, and even on the main menu. And it does help to add to the epic feeling of the grander scale of building your own civilization. It is just a shame that the game is bogged down by so many different things, from the really awkward UI, the questionable new decisions that long-term fans may not be too keen on, and also the Switch performance and the small maps. There's a lot here that needs to be done. I actually picked up Civilization 7 on Switch on the physical side of things. Yes, there's a physical edition of it, and I was a bit dubious whether the whole game would be on the cartridge, and thankfully I can report that the game is on the cartridge. There's just an update of about 400 megabytes, so it's nothing really much to worry about. And I'd also recommend getting it physically, as it's a darn sight cheaper than what it is to buy digitally. And don't even get me started on the ludicrous £100-odd editions with various other DLC. That's an absolute rip-off, and I wouldn't even touch it, especially considering how the game is in its current state. Overall, Civilization 7 on the Switch is a good game, but it's so close to greatness that's been held back by some very simple things that hopefully will be fixed in future updates. The game kind of feels like it's still currently in a beta period, and we are the beta testers, and I really wish companies would not release games like this. It is really annoying, especially when you pony up that cash and it's still a work in progress, and the developers have constantly said that they are going to do further updates to improve the experience. They should have just delayed it. But as I said, Civilization 7 does play a good game of Civilization, but unfortunately the performance, the UI, and some of the choices do make for a bit of an awkward time. My advice, pick up Civilization 6, as it's pretty cheap. It's always on sale on the eShop, or you could pick up a cheap physical copy and wait for this to drop down in a future sale. And hey, maybe there might even be a Switch 2 port. So overall, I give Sid Meier's Civilization 7 on the Switch a 6 out of 10 with a title of okay. Thank you ever so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like and subscribe, that'd be totally awesome. And as always, thank you for watching my video. Bye.